am with a super awesome dude today that I'm really excited to talk to. I met Aaron. Man, I gotta say it's probably been like almost 10 years ago by now. He is part of what I consider my past life in a way, because it was my corporate job, and I have like that chapter has been closed for like 4 or 5 years now. And but I was able to meet Aaron in the world of furniture, in commercial real estate. Those are the kinds of random things that we have to deal with, and it all makes sense. But I fast forward a few years, and I actually started talking to Aaron about this just random marketing things, actually, I think is how it started. And then I found out he built like a really bitchin' community that I'm super stoked for him to talk about, because I think as he was telling me about this community, I just got more and more excited, because this is the kind of stuff that I love about communities and what they can do for us. So welcome, Aaron. Do you want to do like a quick little intro of what you got going on?
Yeah. Thanks for having me, Tanya. It's good. It's been a while since I've seen you, and normally it's talking or sending each other random voice texts and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Me on your show, and my name's Aaron Eggert. I'm the founder and chief vision officer of Coalition 9. I got my hands in a bunch of other stuff, but all of my efforts are about building this community and making sure that we are changing business 9 leaders at a time, and we're having a positive impact on the greater business community and just society in general.
That's awesome. I love this. Like, I already want like some more information. So I know your business is called Coalition 9. I know there's some background to it. And then I also know more about what that looks like. Can you explain literally, like, you have like a very specific kind of membership. It's not necessarily like something that I see, at least in the real estate world, that I spend the most time with. Can you say, like, talk about how that happened? Like what kind of business it actually is?
So I think probably the best way to explain it is it's informed by some previous life experiences and stuff. So, you and I met when I spent 17 years in the commercial interiors industry. Our paths crossed multiple times. There are projects we were working on together. I ran that company with my business partner, Joel Peterson, called iSpace Environments. We did some really great things together. While I was an owner and partner at that company and leading that company, I participated in peer groups. And so I'll leave a bunch of names off, but I tried maybe 4 or 5 of them around the Twin Cities. Would probably do 18 to 24 month stints. And a couple things came predominantly clear. Like, one, there was just a definite lack of community. Like, a lot of these groups are very insular, small groups, kind of creating a little bit of an echo chamber. Everyone had the same title. Those types of things that I feel like the walls need to be broken down a little bit. And then 2, it was a little bit of the good old boy network. And so I am going to be an old white guy someday. I just don't want to be that old white guy. And so I felt like we needed to disrupt that world a little bit. And so as I transitioned out of that industry, like you did, it was something that I wanted to make sure that felt good for my legacy, something that I wanted to leave behind. My wife and I don't have any kids. So once we leave this earth, we leave only our legacies. And so I wanted to do something that was going to be positively reflected upon the work that I did and the impact that I made on society. And so I created this. I hired a brand strategist, Kate DeLeo, who owns a company called Ennoble. She's based here locally. She travels all over the place speaking now. She's way bigger than when I started working with her. I got a smoking deal. So she was the one that helped me really articulate like what I wanted this to look and feel like. And I really wanted to make sure that it emulated my brand as well, my personal brand. So, you've felt a little bit of the passion and the energy and my crazy brain moving at 1,000,000 miles an hour. And I want I want the right people to be a part of that and be attracted to that. But I don't want there to be a barrier to entry. Really, the only barrier to entry that I wanted to be a part of this community is every member lives and leads with character first. And so I just wanted to be good people to be a part of this community. And I want leaders, right? And leaders mean a lot of different things. It doesn't mean that they have to have a CEO title or a VP of this or a director of that or a manager of this. Like, we've got a lot of our members that are just leaders in life, and they may play a role within their business, and there may be a future leader. So really make sure that it's highly inclusive and very diverse from multiple perspectives. Also, on top of it, building that community, I wanted to make sure that we were highly diverse. I find that there's a lot of groups that are for people of color. There are groups for women. There are groups for CEOs. There are groups for founders, all of these different kinds of groups. Well, I wanted to take and be able to mash all that together and create one community just of good people, and mix and match people based on personalities and where they're at in their season of life. And frankly, like, the rest kind of figures itself out. And so for those that are not familiar with the peer group or what a peer group is, it's basically a group of people that come together. I named it Coalition 9. The term coalition means a faction of multiple people with multiple backgrounds coming together for a common cause. And that's really what we're doing. Is we want to have a positive impact on the business community. We want to have impact on each other's lives. The way of doing that is we do it in small groups of 9. They're highly facilitated. Our facilitators many of them are business coaches, have backgrounds in organizational and industrial psychology, and they're the guides for the half-day journey that everyone takes once per month.
That's so fantastic. So really, like, you've figured out a way to bring people together of all different backgrounds, and they essentially talk about business and life together. That's essentially what those pods of 9 are.
And I think, I started this in 2019, and it really grew through COVID. People really rallied together, really needed that. I mean, if you think back, everyone was dealing with some type of social isolation, just the how nebulous the business world was, managing people from remote locations. Many businesses never have experienced anything like that, utilizing technology and things. So I think the timing for what we were doing was right. And then you put that on top of the right kind of people coming together. I had a small group of people, maybe 30 or so, that were early adopters of it in 2019, 2020, and then it just took off after that. And so really making sure that people are coming together, having meaningful conversations, building. It's about depth, not width. So that's why we do it groups of 9. It's a very safe environment that's curated based on the individuals. I think vulnerability is a term that people have shied away from, and we are now in an environment where it's being celebrated more. And I feel like we've done a great job with our members to make sure that they feel like they're in a safe space to be vulnerable.
Yeah, absolutely. And that kind of brings me to a really good question that I like to ask, because a lot of people think business owners, maybe we just don't have problems where we just don't talk about them, and that we don't maybe have self-limiting beliefs. And I'm really big on, I have them all the time. So I want to talk about yours. Like, you started this company, you had to be at least a little bit confident. Did you have self-limiting beliefs when you did start it, or just in general, do you have them?
You're not human if you don't. First of all, let's just like, right. And I think it's less about I'll probably say it's less about about the limiting beliefs as it is the continuous ebb and flow of beliefs. Right. And when you go through building a community like this, we are at almost 230 members, 25 groups. Well, this isn't for everybody, right? Like, being in a group of 9, some people find it really hard to be vulnerable. And so if they make the decision that that's not the right fit for them and they have to transition out, I take it personal. And I feel like it's something that we did, that we should have been able to do something different to make a better experience. And I become borderline unhealthy, obsessed with the member experience. So I want everyone to stay forever. But in the grand scheme of things, people make their decisions based on whatever's going on in their life. And I can't put that on me all the time. So that is gas that goes on the fuel that goes on to the fire of imposter syndrome and all of the things that we all deal with as entrepreneurs and leaders every single day. And just the human condition.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if you how are you coping with getting over that? Like I actually have the same thing that happens constantly. When somebody tells me no, I get defensive and I'm just like, did I do something wrong? Do they not like me? And it's hilarious because I don't know, like most of the time I don't care if somebody likes me or not because I know that I'm for certain people. I'm not for everybody. So how do you like does somebody support you? Like how do you get over it?
Yeah, I think that's where the role that I have experienced is I've always surrounded myself with other positive people. I'm an eternal optimist, so I really try and live in a space to where I'm thinking in a mindset of abundance rather than scarcity. Surrounding you, talking with people that can reinforce the positive thoughts rather than reinforce the negative ones has always been something. Like if I feel like I'm in a rough patch, I know that there's a few people that I can call and they don't even need to know that I'm going through that. I'm just having a reinforcing positive conversation. Here's a fun trick that I will share that I have done in the past or I do currently that I started about 7 or 8 years ago is, I have a folder in my email, in my whole email thing, and there's a folder called encouragement. And when I get an awesome email from someone saying how great their experience was, or something like that, or how much they love their group or their C9 experience, or even life shit, right? Like anything that goes and all that stuff, I dump it in my encouragement folder. Sometimes when you got a little bit of a rough patch, it's good to go through that encouragement folder and know that you're making a positive impact on people's lives. And it just helps fuel you a little bit for the next day.
I love that you have one of these, and it just doesn't surprise me because I feel like we're kindred spirits. That's why we've gotten along for so long. Because I have the same thing. When I was in my corporate job, it was called the good stuff. I literally just anytime I got a compliment or something from a client, from a coworker, I would drop it into the good stuff. I haven't had to use it very much. It was one of the only things I took with me when I left my corporate job. I'm like, I need to make sure I save these things because truly, sometimes you just need like a little punch of you're okay and it's okay to not be for everybody or whatever your shtick is to get over it.
And I think too, I'll also throw on top of that, I just think we're in we're in an environment now to where everybody should have some type of therapist, right? And so I don't know if it's a clinical therapist. I don't know if it's a coach. I don't know if it's a mentor. I don't know if it's a very good friend that you can just pull the curtain behind everything and just go, bare all. But there's got to be some type of relationship or relationships where it has almost like a therapeutic aspect to it. And to me, there's power in just being able to verbalize what you're feeling and getting it off of your chest and talking about it. That is super healing.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think everybody kind of builds what that needs to look like, and it could be, your own little mini tribe via a text message of other business owners or family members or whatever, or a professional. Professionals are good too, like because they just bring a perspective that you just most of the time you wouldn't even know. And I'm realizing like as I get further into my adulthood, then I'm like, I just didn't have the skills. Like nobody taught me these random skills on how to cope with certain things or why people do certain things or just like how to deal as an adult. Like those are advanced skills that we aren't taught in a public school or probably a private school. It's just like, here, we're going to push you down the stairs and see how it goes.
I mean, we could probably have we could have a whole podcast on that. I mean, you look at just generational differences. I'm right on the edge of being a baby or being a Gen Xer and a millennial. So, my parents were boomers and, I don't think it was, and shit on top of it, you throw the fact that we're from Minnesota. So everything's passive aggressive. So you combine all of that. You've never been in an environment where talking about your feelings is a normal thing. Talking about, getting vulnerable is not a normal thing. Half the time the word vulnerability gets people freaked out. So you have to be able to like navigate some of those things. And I think that there's what we're experiencing too with the, the impact of social media and everyone just putting themselves out there and that maybe the beating that they take on the backside or the positivity they take on the backside, everything is just in everybody's face. And so generations handle it a little bit different. I just am in a spot to where I feel like that was never a thing for us. So now we want to be able to celebrate that.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. It's interesting to see how my parents did it versus how I'm doing it and learning how to, yeah, just be vulnerable. Like it feels so
Yeah.
awkward, but it's funny because you get the right people around you and it doesn't feel like anything. You just feel like you're in a comfortable space that it's like, oh yeah, I can totally tell these people that I screwed up this certain paperwork, which is going to affect my business or whatever, or this thing is happening and I just need support. Like it's easier, I feel like sometimes to even find those groups, or it's easier for me. It doesn't mean it's easy for everybody. That's why
And
we have people like you, Aaron, that
yeah, and
creates
I
these
think that
groups.
that's yeah, we create that space. I mean, right? If you go the tagline that we used on the front page of our website is "Leadership is lonely. We build your tribe," because that was something that we kept hearing over and over and over when we were growing. That people were just continually talking about the loneliness that it is to be an entrepreneur or a leader, and so it doesn't matter if you're an entrepreneur and you're running a business and you're the CEO and you're the one that's financially tied to the business, or if you're a leader and you're a middle manager and you've got executive leadership putting pressure, and then the people that you lead putting pressure, that's lonely too. So all of that matters. We just want to make sure that we create a space where people feel like that they can, their voices are heard.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I talk about the loneliness of solopreneurship, and I'm a natural extrovert, so being a solopreneur is really really hard for me to do consistently because I want to be around people. Like that's my jam. And I've had to go find the people. And it's not, you can't just pick anybody, honestly. Like my friends from back home are fantastic, but they don't understand the same things I do because their lives are different. Like we're solo as well. Like I'm married, no kids. And I can't relate to moms the same way that all my friends can relate with each other because, they have little kids at home. But I can relate to business owners. Like that's my jam because I know like the roller coaster of being an entrepreneur of any kind and a leader. I mean, because I've had to explain this to people. It's like I have coworkers, but I pay them to be my coworkers because literally they are my employees. They're not coworkers. Like, so I find peers that are dealing with the same things that I can chase. Like, we can figure out the same kinds of goals or similar goals. We can learn things from each other and then also support each other because personally, I'm in real estate and real estate is a roller coaster. And I think every entrepreneur experiences the nasty roller coaster that is like, you're going to have an up day or an up morning and then a really down afternoon because you might get 3 new clients in the morning. And then in the afternoon, one of them sends you an email that you're like, oh my God, my life is terrible. How did I do this? And it's so constant, I mean, it can be really scary. So just having people to text to be like, oh my God, how did you deal with this? Like that, I find that to be really important. You solved a problem that people don't even know sometimes that it's there because when you don't even experience a good tribe or a good community, you don't know you're missing anything. So how do you, like, what's the best way you guys have found people, because of that? Like I said, like a lot of entrepreneurs don't even know that they need this thing until they get it. And they're like, oh my God, it's so much better for me and for my business now that I have people to talk to. So how do you guys even find clients to be in your group? Explain them to this.
We at the beginning, so when we started, it was all we had a good group of people that really believed in what we were doing, and it started out with a solid 30 people. We a lot of them were part of our beta test process in 2020 when we were really working on our process side of things and the experience side of things, and then we started adding people because they were telling their friends, and then people were applying on the website. We were doing probably the first year we were doing a lot more outbound, and so we were reaching out to people that had leadership positions at all different sizes of organizations. We are a little bit more small business centric, but we also want to support our corporate members that also serve the small business community and want to be a part of the small business community and want to have the impact of our community as well. So we wanted to make sure that it was as inclusive as possible. And then once we got to a point to where we felt like we had good momentum going, we flipped a switch to where we are referral only. And so now for 3 years, we have made the conscious decision that we will not allow anybody into the community unless that they are sponsored or referred in by one of our current members or one of the part of our team. And what that does is it creates the captive community that we wanted to build. It creates fiercely loyal relationships. So they know the members protect the community with the right kind of people, but again, it's only character related things. So we want to make sure that our members are referring in their friends that they think are going to be a good fit. And then we kind of follow the lead of our members, because when they ask people to be a part of it, we find groups, we build groups, and continues to grow organically.
That's fantastic. I remember talking to you probably like at least a year ago, maybe even longer ago, and you weren't up to that, number. So that's fantastic. That's also referral only.
Yeah.
Like that blew my mind.
I think we ended 2023 with just over 180, and then now we're going into into this end of this year. We'll probably end up right around 250. So we're in a good spot. I mean, again, this year, every year I share with our team a theme. And this year was the first year in 5 years that we have not had a growth-related theme to the team. And this year our theme is unrivaled member experience. So everything that we're doing is really focusing on how we make sure that our members that we have absolutely love the experience. We've elevated our events coordinator to experience coordinator. So she's taking a proactive approach to making sure that our members are having a great experience. That our technology stack, making sure that we're continuing to survey after every session, after every single event. So we want to continue to get data points of what our members are loving and double down on that. The things that we need to work on, we're really putting that under a microscope. We're working extra hard on that. And then we're always exploring new options for things to do different.
That's awesome. I love all of this. And actually this kind of leads into the next thing then. So what do you think is your biggest win and your biggest miss with this business?
Well, I think the biggest win is just all the stories that come out of the groups. I just feel like the power of these relationships, we've got a couple, like we've had attorney in one group and an attorney in another group. Through just conversation between the facilitators and the community, they came together. They started a law firm together, and they both had small firms, and now they've got a good mid-sized firm based on their skill sets and how they complemented each other. But none of that would have happened unless they were a part of the community and they had built a relationship through the community. We've had people come together that were in the same group to start a business together. And then unfortunately we have to peel them off because you can't have the same people and two people from the same business in the same group. So we want to make sure that we're keeping that confidentiality sacred. And so we've had some really cool things like that. I think from a miss standpoint, I think thinking that I had all the answers kind of at the beginning of like what I thought our members needed, and then hearing the perspective of the members and knowing that I missed on that one, but being able to be really scrappy and really make sure that we're making fast decisions. We're not doing things in a vacuum. We're always hearing our members, doubling down again on that member experience side of things and really truly listening. When you start to hear 2, 3, 4 people saying the same thing, then you need to start making some changes, and then not dwell on the one-off things because everybody's got a different perspective. We want to make sure that we take all of it into consideration, but we don't want to get caught on the tiny details of the things that are going to hook us up.
Yeah, no, totally cool. Yeah. That's awesome. Okay, now I have some guesses on what this answer might be because of the little bit that I do know of you, but what do you think your superpower is?
I used to say that it was thoughtful connections. I think what we do is making sure to build that community is I'm a lot of times I play the role of a bridge between bartering two relationships or bringing two relationships together. I think that's kind of changed a little bit. And a lot of it is because not of what I think is what I've gotten feedback on is I'm really good at getting to know somebody really fast and figuring out who their people are. And so, when you've got 25 groups, there's a chemistry and there's a culture that's built within every single one of those groups. And I think I'm able to ask questions and be a really good active listener and not to jump to conclusions based on whatever their title is or whatever their personality in the first 2 minutes is or anything like that. To be thoughtful about how I approach that relationship and know that I think that person's going to be a really good fit for here. That also helps inform making thoughtful connections because, you know, a lot of times you do business with people that you like, you build relationships with people that you like. And so some people, I mean, with 230 some members, you're not always going to have every single person that's going to jive together. And that person, you know, not, I think like probably half of our members probably get a little bit overwhelmed with my energy and the things that I bring to the table. So I want to make sure and bring the right people together for the right reasons. And I want to be really thoughtful in that. So yeah, it's hard to articulate like exactly what those words are, but that's the best way to explain it.
No, but it actually is. It's a skill. Like it is. That is not something just anybody can do. Like you can't mash 7 people together and just think, well, they're 7 of my friends and they're going to hang out just well together. No. So that makes a difference.
You got to be really thoughtful about it, right? And I mean, there's groups that we have that have had 8 people. You know, we cap it at 9, but we've got a couple groups that have had 8 people in it for months. And I meet new people almost every single day that are looking to explore it. And sometimes it just comes down to like, I don't think that's the right fit. And I'll meet with somebody and they will be hot to trot, ready to go to join the community. And if I look at the groups and I don't think we have a good fit for them, I just tell them you're going to have to wait either till we have an opening or until we start a new group because I just don't have a fit for you.
Yeah.
So to me, it's fit. It's fit more than just fitting a warm body into a spot.
Yeah, absolutely. Because everybody needs to be, well, you talked about vulnerability like a little while ago, and it's like people need to be comfortable being with those people. And if somebody is just too loud for them or too, you know, boisterous, like I know, like I said, I know that I'm not for everyone. I'm kind of loud and boisterous, and it doesn't work for everybody. And the way I talk, you know, I tend to use a lot more swear words when I'm really excited. And some people don't like that. And I just know. So I try to even warn people sometimes, like if I'm in a group, like I do a lot of small group things and I'll say like, I'll flex to what you need, but if it's a long-term group, I won't. But knowing
even when I meet somebody, yeah, I know. Even when I meet, so I swear a lot. Like every other word seems like and that's what, you know, my wife is like that too. I you know, it is who I am, and I'm unapologetic in it. Now, there is a thing that I do when I meet somebody for the first time. I do a thing called the shit test, and so in the first three to 5 minutes that I meet somebody, I say the word shit, and then I watch their body language, and I see if they reciprocate, and so. If their body language maybe they don't get it yet, or maybe they think that I screwed it up a little bit and then I say it again or something, that's one aspect of things. Or if there's something that I say or do and they have a positive impact on it, I know right away that'll tell me what group, because we have multiple groups that it's just swearing is not in the DNA. You know, they're not, that's not part of their culture that they've built in their small group. So I want to point them in the right direction.
Yeah, I totally do something like this too. Like I feel people out before I'll really let it go. And sometimes I'm just so excited I can't put a cap on it. Like there are times when I really do use it when I'm excited, and it's not for everybody. So some people I've seen the body language too, where they're like, oh, and they just kind of like exit the stage left.
Yep, it happens.
It totally is. And there's so many things that go into a small group. Like I went to college for communication studies and studied small group, and I studied like a lot of those things. And as an adult, I see it happen, and it's like, this person feels alienated. I can look at that person and see how alienated. And then you're right. There's this layer of Minnesota passive aggressive that is such a pain in the butt. And that was one thing that I took a lot of pride in when I was in my corporate job, that I could read the clients. Like we might be in a group of 10 people and there's some clients and there's a general contractor, maybe furniture person, and then me. And I remember one time that I left a meeting and I told the general contractor in the parking lot, I'm like, I'm going to get a call from them. I put money on it within the next 24 hours because I bet they didn't like that. They didn't but they wouldn't say it in the meeting. And it wasn't even an hour, and I already had an email like, hey, we really didn't like that, but they couldn't say it because they weren't comfortable. And we can't always choose the groups that we're in, at least when it came to corporate real estate. You can't always control all the players, but you can control as much as you can. And then just trying to learn the person to be like, well, this is the space for this person. And in your case, like the groups you're literally making, like this is your business. So knowing it so well is really a big deal, because that's going to make or break whether or not those people feel supported, whether they love your community. They literally are going to attach your choice of what group they're in to their love for your business. And that's a lot of pressure and beauty at the same time, because if you're good at it, man, look at the cool, like 25 groups of 9 people is a lot of people. Like that's a lot of groups to put effort into, to be like, I want to make sure you guys feel like you're in a safe space. Like that's so cool. Oh my God. I love it.
Yeah. And there's such a balance between making sure that someone feels part of a greater community and feeling the intimacy of their small group. And so, you know, there's that was always part of the design, was the small group experience is really going to drive the majority of what we do, and making sure that they've got facilitators that are going to guide the experience. We're I don't look for facilitators that are ex-CEOs that did a bunch of really cool shit 20 years ago. I look for some people that they may be CEOs, but they lead with curiosity first. They lead with empathy and EQ. And so the right kind of people leading the groups, every group will thrive or it will fail through the facilitator. And so as the group goes, the facilitator goes, and vice versa. So we know that. So we're really thoughtful about who we bring onto our team leading the groups. And then on top of it too is, our events. I feel like we put on second to none events. They're highly attended. We do 20 events per year. And so 20 events per year is a shit ton of events. And I recognize that. It is. Wow. And some of the events, 8 of the events are highly attended, 120 to 150 people. And then the 12 of the events are monthly wellness focused. So we call them C9 Well, and they're just about holistic wellness topics. And those are they're by design smaller. So there's a little bit more of an intimate environment. So we cap those at 30. But that is community, right? Like, I think you got to be really thoughtful about how people want to tap into community and create multiple ways for people to be able to build relationships.
I love so many things you talk about. I'm just like on the edge of my seat. What's he going to say next? Because I love this stuff. Like, community building is my jam. I love like dipping into a community and just being like, seeing the people that truly, there's body language. All you have to do is recognize the body language of an introvert, and you know who you could go and talk to, because you know that they're not going to talk to anybody by themselves. So you just go and do that thing. So it's really fun to listen to, like, literally how you're designing it. But I want to switch gears and ask you, so you talk about this incredible community that you've created. What does your personal community look like? Because you can't necessarily be the same player in the communities that you built. Like, you are one in your community, but what about your personal one? Like, when, do you have your own small group or small peer group? Is it within Coalition 9, or is it actually just like your people? Like, and what do they do for you, like in your business, and, encourage you with new ideas or whatever? What does that look like?
So a couple of things. One is, I do. So in order for me to be a good leader of our community, I need to lead a group too, and make sure that I'm always hearing what our members are experiencing firsthand. So I play a little bit more of a facilitator role in that group. I will share openly, and we've built, this group has been together for almost 5 years. So it's easy for me to get real with them and talk about things that I'm experiencing. I don't sugarcoat anything or anything like that with them. My wife is I would say she is my number one advocate, the number one person to have my back, the number one person that I'm always going to just be fully transparent with, so I can just talk about all the things as need yet. And then I've just got handfuls of pockets of small groups of people that I've built relationships with just over time, and nothing formal. I think everybody's got, you even referred to this, and with some of your friends, I think I've got a couple friend groups from pre business stuff. I've got a group of guys that we started some stuff. We did some investing together, but then we decided that wasn't our jam, and we just kind of created a little bit of thing called the council. And so there was 10 of us that were doing some really cool things. A lot of people, if I were to say do a bunch of name dropping, you'd recognize a bunch of the names. So I don't know how I effed my way into that group, but that's become another friend group. I think to me, again, approaching it from an abundance mindset is I recognize that we do one thing and there are other people that do the same thing. We also want to cross-pollinate into other communities as well. So I don't think we are the be all end all to what people need. I think we are one aspect of that, but I also think there's coaching relationships, therapy relationships, other small groups that people should be a part of. And so all of that creates an experience that people need to help shape their perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that you have names for yours, because actually all of my little small groups have names too. Somebody dubbed it the Great Eight is my short-term rental group. And I mean, I pick people up along the way the same way. And I feel like we're a certain kind of individual, because the further I get into adulthood, the more I know that not everybody does this kind of stuff. Not everybody collects people along the way and utilizes their skills in their business. I mean, I literally make business decisions because of what people advise me to do, because they're really good at it. I didn't know how to buy a house when I first started flipping houses. I went to somebody else that knew how to buy houses, and they told me how to do it and how to scale it and how to do short-term rentals, all of those things. I just learned through other people. So the kinds of things that you're building is the same. You want to become a leader, then hang out with other leaders. That's the answer is just hang out with other leaders. Cause that's the easiest way to shorten the gap, or that's what I call a mastermind is how do we shorten the gap in any way, shape or form? That means I don't have to learn as much, or, I can learn from somebody else's mistakes. Maybe might not get sued because of it, because I know plenty of people who are in litigation for getting sued, especially in real estate land. And, how do I avoid those things and prep myself appropriately? So groups like yours, that's how you find them. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, you need to have them, and everybody. I think probably everybody does in one way or another. But I think I don't think people really truly take the time to look at those. Where are their groups and identify them? And I'm not saying you need to name them or anything like that, but at least have an identification process of what is the role I play in this group, and what is the role that the group plays in my life, and how can I best use these resources? Because none of us can do anything on our own. We all have to surround ourselves with people that are smarter, better, faster than us in certain aspects that we need to level up a little bit on.
Yeah, I love that, because I agree that if somebody is doing it completely solopreneur style, that's neat. But I don't know, it's a lot more jolly to have friends that are going through the same things and, just somebody to relate to and get help from.
And, I would say we've got a healthy, well over 20, maybe 30 solopreneurs that are a part of our community. And, many of them have backgrounds that they've done some amazing things, and they bring a ton of experience. And just because their business is smaller and they've chose to have a different type of offering and build their life around their business rather than their business around their life, I want to make sure that we create that space for them as well. And so if you're in if this person's in a group and they're a fractional CFO and they're in a group with other leaders, they want to build their business the way that they want to build it. And the people in the group can help inform them on what they would want in the future. And that's going to help them market better, just be a better advocate for their clients. So anybody who wants to be a part of something like this is welcome. We'll always find a space. And the diversity is the key. So
I guess leaning into that comment that you just made, you're in Minnesota, you were talking about potentially going or starting in Wisconsin one, what is that? Because I have national friends. Most of my friends aren't even local in Minnesota anymore, especially business friends. So what does it look like for your business? If somebody is looking for something like this, Coalition 9 is unique to what you guys do and what you guys choose and who you let in. So what does that look like for your growth pattern? Or if somebody wants to find something like a Coalition 9, in Florida or something?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different organizations around the United States that do stuff like this. I think we are, I've done a lot of research, and we are very different than what anybody else is doing out there. So we are fortunate in that respect to where we've got a little bit of IP that handles that and manages that a little bit differently, and the experience is a little different. So, but there are in any city, there's going to be some type of peer group type of organizations that are out there. Some of them are bigger, some of them are smaller. For us, I want to make sure that this community, this business, always aligns with my life first, and so I want to also be able to walk the talk. And so I don't want to get it to. I really am unapologetic in saying I don't want to get it to a point to where I can't single-handedly manage this and have it integrate into my life. And so I actually went through a big strategic planning process last year, did a bunch of visioning, documented our strategic plan, and got it to where what does the picture look like in I put a 5-year number out there. It actually is a little bit more, but like, what do I want this to look and feel like? And so I'm transparent with it. I've told all of our members, so as we sit right now, we are about halfway there. So I want to get to 450 members. I'd like to keep it Midwest Central. So stay within that Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota, Iowa, Wisconsin area. Whether if we open up mini Coalition 9s in other cities, and whether it be Sioux Falls, Fargo, Madison, Des Moines, that area, that's to be seen. Right now, we've got a good contingency of people that come to the Twin Cities, so we'll see how that all goes. We are starting our philanthropic arm of this. So this year, I haven't talked about this much, so maybe this is a little bit of exclusive of what we're doing. Exciting. So we have started a foundation called C9 Gives. Cool. I am actually taking a percentage of our membership revenue every single year and allocating it to the foundation. We are an approved 501c3. Cool. We have a 5-person board. We're going through in April to have our April 16th, I think, is our first board meeting, to where we're establishing our mission and our vision. And the whole idea around it is mobilizing the Coalition 9 community as a whole to do good and have a positive impact on the greater community and society. Again, right in line with our vision. And you can't do that just with money. You got to be able to mobilize the community as well. So it's both through financial and resource talent and the skills that our members bring. So anytime that there's something in need and people want to tap the community on its shoulder, we're going to funnel it through the foundation and make sure that the foundation is a vehicle for good. Awesome. So you combine all that stuff. To me, I feel like we're going to really be able to have a positive impact on kind of the upper plains or the upper Midwest. And I kind of just want to keep it there. I went through a period of my life in my 30s when I dedicated my life to the business. And now I want to make sure that I just have a little bit more congruence.
Yeah, no, that's totally cool. I love that. And so it just means more people. I mean, Midwest people are cool anyways. We have some of the coolest like heavy hitters that come out of Minnesota that just like, I want to be like her. And then I find out, I'm like, oh, she's from Minnesota. This is great. So that's at least we have a really good pool of people. So you said people come to Minnesota because I know it's in-person meetings once a month, right? The 9. What's the furthest somebody comes in every month for their meeting?
We have a member who I will leave unnamed. He owns 3 businesses, 2 of them in Bismarck, 1 of them in Minneapolis, and he's a pilot. And he flies in once a month for his C9 group, and then just to do all his meetings and stuff like that with his leadership team at his business here in the Twin Cities. And then he flies back to Bismarck. So I would say Bismarck. It used to be Omaha was the furthest. That just got to be too much of a strain, and I get that. Like the geographic proximity is going to be something that we always got to keep in mind, but I do want to keep this thing Twin Cities centric, and there may be a time, like I said, where in the next couple of years we start looking at some of these cities like Fargo, Sioux Falls, Des Moines, Madison, things like that. But I'm in no rush.
And for the folks like I know a little bit more about Aaron's business, but for the folks that don't know, like he actually requires you to do an in-person meeting like every month. Isn't it like 4 hours or something? So you meet with your pod. You meet with your peer group every single month to talk about business, to talk about all these things. And it really fosters like the conversations that you can have, like people that are actually engaged. Like you have to take this half day. Like you're not sitting on your phone on a Zoom staring at people and also staring at your phone. Yep. You are actually like engaged in the whole entire process.
And I would say even so, we do have members that travel once in a while, or they got a conference. So like my group tomorrow, I'm actually hosting my group tomorrow, and we've got one guy that's in Detroit for a conference. He's going to actually jump out of his conference for a couple hours, and he's going to join. And to me, that's great. Let's utilize technology here and there, but at the end of the day, we want people to be present both mentally and physically. And so it's even part of our member agreement. When someone becomes a member, there's a member agreement that has a couple aspects to it. It's a legal binding document. It's got a confidentiality, non-disclosure, and it's a commitment to making a minimum of 9 sessions per year. And so if people are not willing to make those requirements, the group has the choice to be able to ask that person to not be a part of it anymore, because you think about it, you've only got 9 people, and if you've got one person that is just not showing up mentally or physically, the group needs to be able to make a conscious decision on what they want.
Yeah, and it throws off the group. Like I do accountability groups, which are an hour a week, and they're typically 12 to 15 weeks. And I set one up when I really need to hit a goal, honestly. Like, so then I'm showing up to these people. And when someone shows up late, it's really hard, because they might be asking questions as soon as they get on. And it's like, well, we already went over all of this stuff and you just missed it all. So it doesn't feel like somebody's as committed. And it's really hard to want to show up for those other people, like for a person that's late like that. Yeah. And it just throws things off. And that's the same thing that you were talking about, is like, you need to be really careful with how you put people together, because certain personalities just don't work. And I'm personally not really good with excuses. I don't like excuses. I think they, it's not like I don't make any, but I think they suck. And like when someone says, well, my calendar reminder didn't go off, it's like, I don't actually care about that. Like, if you can't get your shit together, like, why would I want to hang out with you? Because your mess, like your messy life, like it could just be as little as I didn't see the reminder. Well, your messy life, honestly, just turns like, it comes off as messy for me too. And I don't want to embody messiness if, I don't have to. Like, I don't hang out with those people for a reason. So it's so interesting and amazing how much you curate when it comes to the people in your group and like how you've done this. Because I don't know, communities are like my favorite part about life. Like I'm realizing, every single year I'm like, oh, and then I have this community and this is the cool things I get to do with these people. And this is like, it sounds like you just found some really fun people to hang out with and fun things to do and happen to make money at it. So that's neat.
Yeah, that. You pretty much said it the best way that you possibly can. Like, in order to, like, I don't squander the thought of I get to do this. Right. Like this is something I get to wake up and do every day. I don't have to do it. I want to do it, but I get to do this. And for this to be able to be something that I get to live my life doing, and also know that it positively contributes to the lives of other human beings, like that is a gift. And that is something that I make sure that I put extra passion into, just because of this gift that I've been given.
Oh, that's awesome. It's a darn good way to do things, especially after coming out of a corporate job, because I know about the corporate stuff you had to do and we both had to do. And it's really hard, and it's a far call different from hanging out with cool leaders that are trying to make their organizations cool to having to do one of those. Or, there's just like a lot of high test stuff in corporate that you have to deal with. And, that's a really big leaf to turn. And it's so much more cool to be on this side of the leaf, like our side of it.
It is. Yeah, 100%. Couldn't agree more.
Okay, I've got a last question for you. So I like to connect people. You said thoughtful connection maker. And I was like, oh, that's kind of what I love to do. So I want to know, are you looking for anything right now? A person, a connection, product, service, anything? Like, how can I connect you, or how can the people listening connect you to somebody?
I will say that if someone were to reach out to me that listened to this podcast and they're a fan of you, and they're a fan of your, what you've done, or you as a person, And obviously you may know them or you may not. Like, I would love to explore what that looks like for C9 membership. We're always looking for the right kind of people. If the way that I articulate this and my personal brand comes through of being something that someone will want to be a part of, to me, I think, again, like, you got to match the organic growth versus making sure that we're making value for the people that want to have this. And so you put those two together. I'm always looking for the right people to be a part of this. And if they're in the area and they think that it's something that they'd want to do, I'd love.
And I would love to connect anybody with you, because I've talked to you about this, and I'm not part of Coalition 9, but it's one that I've thought of a lot of times. But I'm in plenty of masterminds, and you have to be smart with how you do things with your time, or what you do with your time. But I would love to connect anybody with you, because I have FOMO, and I've never even been to one of your meetings, and I have FOMO. And I suppose I get FOMO.
So I don't know when you're launching this, but we've got a big event on our next big event is on May 15th. It's at Abyssinia Cultural Center. What's really cool about that event is one of our members, Abe Damaj. Abe Damaj is Middle Eastern. He has started this. He owns a little bit of property in the Lake and Lyndale area, and that, as you know, that area took just a beating after the murder of George Floyd, and so he is a community builder. And so what he did was he created a thing called the Abyssinia Cultural Center. It is a place for people that in his community that want to be able to start businesses and thrive in there and have their businesses positively contribute to that area. He's also going to be doing some other things and building some other properties there. Well, what's really awesome about this Abyssinia Cultural Center is that we are going to be the first event that he has in his event space. And so it's such a great way to cross-pollinate our two communities, the community that he has in the Lake Lyndale area that is primarily Black and brown individuals, and along with our Coalition 9 community, which is primarily business owners and leaders and highly diverse. And to be able to mix that under a topic of turning your vision into a reality, and really the operationalizing of a business and how we can use business and small business to make a positive contribution to society. That's the tone that we're having. So I'm pumped about that. And so that's going to be we're probably going to have almost a couple hundred people at that event. He's going to have it covered by some of the local news outlets and things like that. And for us to play just a small role in that and amplifying the good work that he's doing and where he's taking that whole community, to me, that's something I'm really proud
that's
of.
Awesome. That's super cool. If anybody wants to reach out about that, like, I'll put you in touch with Aaron. I'll get some details and put it in the show notes though too. And this has been awesome. Like, I love getting to talk to you. Like, I was really excited for today. I'm excited about a lot of things, but you're an awesome human, and I'm so happy that we somehow met and still talk here and there, because this is great.
Random text messages. You're the queen of random text messages. And videos. You send random videos on a Sunday morning when I'm doing my digital detox. So, like, that I wake up on a Monday morning and I got a video from Tanya. That's a hell of a way to start a week.
Well, thank you. And I just thought your invitation to be on my podcast needed to be in that, because people, like, they can hear the excitement, but a text message doesn't cut it. But a voice text can cut it, but those can be annoying. So I'm like, a video text, this is what he's getting. So I'm really happy you said yes. This has been fantastic. So thanks a lot, Aaron.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer. Yeah, thanks a lot for having me, Tanya. It's great to be on your show. I'm super pumped. Congratulations to you for getting this show up off the ground. And I don't doubt for a hot second that this is going to be something that people are going to want to listen to. And we'll be looking back on this, and I hope to be on it in a couple of years after this is a little bit more mainstream. And I'm happy to be on this journey.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate all that, and I agree. It's going to be huge. All right.
Yeah, I love it.